Hi, I'm Cassie Wilson, and you're watching Transit Talks, and today I'm here with...
I'm Evelyn Kocher. I use she, her pronouns. For my day job, I am the comms manager for Latino Network, but I also am one of the chief petitioners for IP33, the Equal Rights for All ballot measure.
Evelyn, what transit line are we on right now?
We are on line 52. This is one of the buses that I used to take as a kid back when I was living down in South Beaverton.
And when's the last time you rode transit before today?
I ride transit all the time because I live very close to a Max stop, which was 100% one of the reasons why my wife and I picked the place to live that we do. We're actually selling one of our cars because whenever one of us has to go into Portland, we just take the Max stop.
Did having access to transit as a kid, did that open up a sense of freedom and independence earlier than people who maybe weren't taking transit?
Absolutely, yeah. I was one of the youngest kids in my grade, so I couldn't get my license or my permit at the same age as all of my friends. So having the ability to take transit to the zoo, to my job, really opened up my eyes to what my city was like, what Beaverton was like, what Portland was like, and really gave me a sense of independence that I had really been craving, to come into my own a little bit and experience my own city. And it really drove a passion for Portland and for Beaverton that I still have to this day.
So how does transit intersect with the advocacy that you do?
I think it's really critical, right? I've had so many friends either ask about moving here or actually moving here from places like South Carolina or Texas, and they move here explicitly because we are so much more queer friendly. And after moving across the country, a lot of them don't have a lot of extra money to spend on things like car ownership. And a lot of the times they explicitly choose Portland or the surrounding areas because you can live here without a car, and the cost of living is lower than places like LA or San Francisco or Seattle or New York that have similar protections. So I think that amazing balance between how we care for our queer community and how we care for our community at large by promoting public transit and having it be accessible really helps keep cost of living down if that's something that you need to worry about, and makes this area a lot more accessible than other places where you could find the similar types of LGBTQ plus protections.
We're going to be posting this on Trans Day of Remembrance, which is a day that honors trans folks who have died as a result of hateful anti-trans violence. Are there things as a trans woman, as an immigrant, that you have to think about when it comes to safety on transit or, using the streets?
It's always something you have to worry about, right? Especially because trans women of color are at so much higher of a risk being out in public, at a higher risk of violence than people at large or even white trans women, right? But I think it's also just worth remembering that taking TriMet is always measurably and demonstrably safer than driving in a car. There have been so many fewer deaths associated with TriMet than there have been associated with automobiles since 1985 when the Max started, right? Folks dying on TriMet is a headline. Folks dying in a car crash barely is a blip on the radar. I get to have so many more experiences with so many different types of people that I never would have if I were sitting in my bubble, in my car, stuck in traffic on 26, as opposed to sitting on the Max, listening to a podcast, reading a book, and it's just so much nicer. And so even though I'm conscious about the fact that being myself in public is more dangerous than not being myself, that doesn't factor into how transit comes into it, because it's just more being myself in public, and that's not going to stop me from being who I am. And I think that a lot of trans folks do have concerns about safety, but that's just more about the society we live in than anything about riding the bus. The more time that you spend with people who aren't like you, who don't have your experiences, the more time you spend thinking about their communities, the more you get out of your little solipsistic universe that we all tend to silo ourselves in. Even though we try not to do it, we all do it unconsciously, and it can be a huge help to get on public transit, spend time with other people that you don't know, and just see how life is in your community, because I think this is a really great example of a cross-section of what your community is.
So as you mentioned earlier, you've spent years helping pass policies to make Oregon a more safe and welcoming place for the LGBTQ+ community. Can you share more about the initiative that you're helping lead?
So this constitutional amendment would take out language that already exists in the Constitution that defines marriage between one man and one woman, which we put in there ourselves in 2004 with Measure 36, and would also make explicit that non-discrimination protections based on sex extend to things like pregnancy status, pregnancy ability, gender identity, gender expression, as well as sexual orientation, in addition to sex assigned at birth. So by making those rights explicit, we will help Oregon become the most queer-friendly place in the country, and arguably one of the most queer-friendly places in the world, by enshrining marriage equality and those non-discrimination protections into our Constitution. So we need 160,000 signatures by next July. We're shooting for 250,000, and we have over 400 volunteers who've helped us collect 50,000 signatures so far, which is absolutely incredible. This is something that I think Oregonians from around the state could all agree on. We've gotten signatures from every single one of our 36 counties, and hopefully we can get this on the ballot in November to be one of the only affirmative civil rights measures in any state in the entire country during the midterm elections.
And how can people sign?
You can go to equalrightsoregon.com, and you can sign the petition there by printing it out, signing your name, and sending the petition sheet in. Unfortunately, there's no way to sign online, but that's just to make sure that every person signing is a real, actual person who is registered to vote in Oregon.
Or if you're like me, run into Evelyn outside the Thorns game.
Where I'm collecting signatures. Hey, if you need a place with lots and lots of people who are in support of gay rights, a Thorns game isn't a bad place to do it.
How has transit changed in your lifetime here?
It's been really amazing to see the progress that transit's made in my lifetime. Back when I was a kid, the max was just the red and the blue line, and that's it. And in my lifetime, I've been able to see the yellow line get developed. My aunt and uncle and my grandparents have spent most of their lives living in the Overlook neighborhood, so it was life-changing to be able to have the yellow line there and be able to take the max to go visit my grandparents or visit my cousins, you know? And then seeing the green line get developed, and most recently the orange line with Tillicum Crossing, which is just a revolutionary project with a transit-only bridge, and is just amazing. And it's kind of made me a little bit sad that in recent years we've fallen behind. We are in the longest period that we have not opened a max line since 1985. It's been 10 years. And it's a real shame.
What are some things you'd like to see happen?
We were pioneers of transit-oriented development in the development of Orenco Station, right? We created a whole shopping center with retail, with grocery store, all centered around a max station. And even to this day, it's still a very popular place to live. When my wife and I looked for places to live over there, we couldn't find any because they were so popular. There weren't any vacancies. In Washington County, at the very least, we haven't seen anywhere near the type of transit-oriented development that we should be really going for, especially considering the amount of development we've been seeing in this region with the economic centers that we have in Washington County. We have so many places and around stations that are just empty parking lots or empty fields. It just seems like a disservice to the region to make the transit center feel so disconnected from Beaverton's downtown, which is so walkable and transit friendly.
What is your transportation hot take?
I don't know if I have a lot of hot takes. I have a lot of ideas that will likely never happen. One of the things I hate about Beaverton is that cutting right through the center of downtown, we have not only a freight rail line, but we have two state highways. There's no good reason that we need to have two parallel state highways less than a quarter mile away from each other. If I had my wish right now and could snap my fingers and do anything, I would shut Beaverton Hillsdale Highway down between Cedar Hills Boulevard and Lombard, because you ultimately don't need it, right? You already have TV Highway going through there, so having a parallel highway makes no sense. And I know that would take a whole lot of political will to do, but it has always bothered me.
Thank you for joining us on Transit Talk.
Thanks for having me.